Hey guys, it's not Lammers Invoked 101. Welcome back, and as you can see, we're back on Invoked. I'm really excited to talk about this deck. It's a really cool build for it. It's the newest way that I've found to play Invoked Mech Knights, and yeah, thanks to time-rending Morganite, it has become a pretty interesting strategy. So, before we get into it, down in the description, if you feel like supporting the channel, you can use the links down there to do just that. I'm going to set the extra deck and spells and traps off to the side, and we'll get right into the main deck monsters. Starting us off with our fusion guys, we are of course playing 3 Alistair the Invoker. On normal summon, you get to search Invocation, and then you can discard him from the hand to buff one fusion monster by 1,000, which we're not really taking advantage of that. Like I said, this is a Morganite deck, so we're not taking advantage of that to its fullest, but being able to normal summon him twice in one turn, which isn't a once per turn effect, is really strong as well. Then we're playing the Destiny Hero package, 1 Dasher, 1 Celestial. For Fusion Destiny. These are pretty neat. This can let you special summon monsters, so if you have a dead Mech Knight in your hand, but I think it has to be a level 4, correct? Draw a monster during your... Oh no, just any monster. Okay. And then Celestial is Celestial. He's a Pot of Greed or a Burn and Pop card. 1 Fallen of Albaz. If you really feel like it, you can bump this up to... What's it called? You could bump it up to 2, but currently I think 1 is fine. You really only need to resolve Branded Fusion once. Moving into our Mech Knights, we are playing 3 purple for the, this is like your strongest one, being attack-wise and effect-wise. He banishes a Mech Knight to search a Mech Knight, and then you get it back in the next end phase, or the end phase, whatever. What is it? Until the standby phase of your next turn, yeah, so there we go. 2 Blue Sky, who is also a searcher. He can search for 3. Blue for 2 is also really strong. 2 Indigo Eclipse. And then 1 yellow, 1 red. Indigo is really cool, being able to move, and then yellow and red are just spot removal. With this deck, because you don't have hand traps and other things, I really wanted to make room for red and yellow. So I do think that they are important to the strategy in this scenario, whereas like some of the fusion guys aren't as important, or at least resolving more things than just invocation aren't, because this is still an invoke deck through and through. That's what I want to get through. And then the Mech Knights I felt were better than like the Dogmatica stuff, because 1, they don't activate in the hand, they just special summon themselves, kind of like the sprites do. So this definitely felt like the best way to go about it when playing Morganite Invoked. And it let me have an excuse to play Mech Knights again. I always like the Mech Knights. That's it for the main deck monsters. There are no hand traps because, or at least no hand trap monsters, because we can't play them. So moving into our spells and traps, we are starting with 2 Invocation, obviously, 3 Magical Meltdown, and 1 Terraforming. This is obviously for Alistair, our Alistair Rhoda, and our Fusion spell. Really strong. I like this ratio. It's a good ratio. It's proven time and time again that this is the right ratio, so I'm going to keep it at this ratio. Next up, 3 Branded Fusion. This might seem a little bit overkill for only having 1 Albaz, especially since we're not playing Lubellion, and that was something I thought about, since Lubellion, if you don't have Alistair in the hand, you could fusion into Lubellion to set up the invocation, which is kind of neat. And then you could do Kaliga plus like what's it called, and then also reset your Branded Fusions. So I might try to make room for Lubellion in the extra later on, but I'll talk about that when we get there. Of course, the other card, 3 Fusion Destiny. This is realistically like the last one you're activating. I find that Branded Fusion is probably the best one to shotgun first, just because then your opponent has to respond to it, and also it sets them up for failure, in my opinion, whereas if you activate this first, you're locked a little too hard. And Invocation, you just activate in between these 2. So that's it for Fusion stuff. For other spells, 3 Time Tearing Morganite. So this is a new spell card out of CYAC, and what it does, it says, for the rest of this duel, apply the following effect. You cannot activate monster effects in the hand. Monster effects. So you can still activate traps from the hand. Discard, draw 2 cards instead of 1 for your normal draw during your draw phase. You can conduct 2 normal summons slash sets per turn, not just one. You can banish this card from your graveyard, discard a time-rending Morganite. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects when you normal summon this turn. So if you open this card, you activate this card, then if you have a second copy, they can't respond to normal summon Alistair, which is incredible. But also, that is oddly specific. There are times where you might want to hold this card. There's been times where I've discarded this off Mechaba. I've been doing a little bit of testing with this online, and it's doing pretty okay in my opinion. I do like this deck, and I like this card in this strategy for a more... I think this is where Mekk-Knight Invoked has to go, in my opinion. Then we are playing 3 Pot of Prosperity. This is a card that you need to do. There's some stuff in the extra deck that when we get there, I'll talk about what you can Prosperities away. It all depends on what you're playing into. 1 Called by the Grave, and for the last spell, 1 Thrust and 2 Tactics Talent. Online, I'm playing 3 Thrusts because this gets you into, because Thrust gets you Morganite, it gets you Imperm, it gets you Prosperities, it gets you any of your fusion spells. Thrust is definitely the better card in this strategy, but Tactics, being able to draw 2 is also really, really nice. The only problem with Tactics is, like I said, I've said this before, it conflicts with Prosperity, and it's kind of the reason that I cut Prosperity out of, Evil Twins, is just because of the confliction. But I do think that in this strategy, playing 3 Thrust is 100% the correct move. So if I had the option, I would, but in physical cards, I have talents, so... And you're not always going to see talents when you see Prosperity, but it is one of those things. But yeah, Morganite is a crazy, crazy card, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it, because I think it's okay for Invoked, but I've also heard other things. Next up for traps, 1 World Legacy Secret. Let me move that aside a little bit. 3 Imperms, and 1 Shaddoll Schism, which might seem a little weird because we aren't playing the Dogmaticas, but you can still trigger this using Mirror Jade. You can still search this with Mirror Jade, and I find that dumping Apoc alone in this strategy is better than dumping like Albion or something. So that's the reason I put it in here. You could 100% cut this if you really wanted to and put it back to 41, but those are the traps I like to play. Moving to the extra deck, we're kind of burning through this real quick, and I don't necessarily mean to. I'm trying to explain every card as best as I can. We're playing 2 Mechaba, obviously, 1 Invoked Algodes. There's a lot of ways to load up your graveyard using Mirror Jade and the other fusions, so just being able to have that is really, really nice. 1 Purgatrio for the big damage, and 1 Kaliga to round out our Invoked guys. Kaliga is a really strong monster, I feel, and especially with Morganite, it is really good. And we are playing the window package, so that's also good to keep it. Then for the branded stuff, we're playing 1 Ice Jade, or Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon, and 1 Albion. So like I was saying, I do kind of want to fit Lubellion into the strategy, because like thinking about it, being able to shuffle back Albaz to get extra branded fusions, like at least to go into Albion, is really strong. But at the same time, you only really want to resolve branded fusion once, because there's not enough space in the extra deck for the other stuff that you're playing, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. In association with the branded stuff, we're playing 1 Apkallone and 1 Winda. These are literally just to use with Mirror Jade. You dump Apkallone off of Mirror Jade to banish a card, and then search Schism, and then set Schism at summon Winda. So it's just one of those things. And yeah, you can't buff Winda, so honestly, like, you could cut these and add in the Lubellion and like a second Mirror Jade and probably be fine. Then 1 DPE for obviously Fusion Destiny, and then the last card I'm playing is an Atis as far as the fusions go. And this is also for Mirror Jade. It lets you banish a card and then pop a card. I find that it's still an okay idea in theory and in practice, so that's what I'm playing. For links, we're playing the Almirage Secure Gardener combo. This is just a setup for other fusions. The 1 Mekk-Knight and the Dark Charmer. So pretty standard link lineup. You're not always going to have branded fusion, so you can go into like Mekk-Knight of the Morningstar or Dark and DPE plus Invoked monsters. I do find that you are able to link summon fairly okay with this strategy. But I will say that the Pot of Prosperity does make it so that way you do want to banish your Almirage and your Secure Gardener. But with all that said, that is it for Invoked Mekk-Knight's Invoked Mekk-Knight Morganite branded DPE. This deck is really, really weird. It's really, really crazy, and it can pull off some really strong boards of like Mechaba, Mirror Jade, DPE, which is a intense thing to be playing into. Unless they have like Lava Golem or something, which, I mean, with the current format, yeah. And I also don't think that this deck is super competitive, like, at all. But it is a fun way to play Invoked, and it's what I've been enjoying when I play Invoked lately. So let me know what you guys thought about this deck in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.